Welcome to Cancer season. Happy summer solstice. Get seated. Hopefully something I say resonates. If not, oh well. First things first, before I shuffle any cards, let's keep in mind that the moon is out of bounds twice this month. Okay, so who cares? Why does it matter? Because the moon in astrology, amongst a few of other things I could mention, it is about your internal world, the way you process your life on the inside. So, how sensitive are you to the way that you comprehend your life, your mood, your thoughts, your habits? The subconscious mind is playing out in grander ways than we can grasp. However, the subconscious mind does adore habits, patterns, repetition. So, considering the moon is out of bounds during the full moon on the 29th and the new moon on the 14th of July, there's really no reason why someone in this particular type of astrological weather, there's no reason not to mind your mood, to investigate a few things, Pop into the window, stick your head out of it, look around. What's going on inside of you? Because you're in charge of it, not other people. And when it comes to Cancer season and the Cancer archetype, we always focus in on home, family, security, a secure ego that can lead is imperative for the truth to be respected and for connection to be honored. So, yeah, grab yourself a little drink. What are your driven, emotional intents? What are your personal protective instincts? Do they help you comprehend what's going on? Do your feelings, crowd and cloud the truth? Are you able to respect the truth despite the fact that you feel like not respecting the truth? We're all human after all, so as long as you're actually doing your best and you're not just saying that you're doing your best and then treating people terribly, Cancer season should go fairly okay, fairly well, more than good enough. So when I mean okay, I mean safe, secure, valued, recognized, However, but that is true, and yet, look, Mercury and Neptune are retrograde this Cancer season, so outside of that, and the moon being out of bounds, and Mercury being in Cancer all season long, which, by the way, it's been in Cancer since June 1st. It'll be like that until August 11th. There's just a lot of abstract communication that requires sincere conclusions, not a rush to judge. That's where you lose in Cancer season, is rushing to judgment. Now, with all of that said, Jupiter moves out of Cancer where it is exalted and moves into Leo, which gives us a Six of Wands tarot mood. But it's important to understand Jupiter is pretty activated all month long. I mean, season long, I should say. It enters Leo after the full moon in Capricorn, June 30th, coming up here. And all season long, Jupiter opposes Pluto retrograde. Pluto's been retrograde since Taurus season. That's important. That's really important because Jupiter, at some point, it will conjunct the Sun in Cancer, and, you know, there are a lot of insincere conclusions that will likely be made by brash, selfish people who speak before they think, who judge faster than they can understand their own internal world. Was I not just talking about that? The moon being out of bounds twice during the full and the new, but also considering Cancer is ruled by one of our luminaries, the moon. Mercury is in Cancer. The moon is the overarching presence of the entire season, and yet what you think is a secret is the elephant in the room. What you think is private to you is well known to everyone that is around you or speaking with you most of the time, or just in your daily life. It could be coworkers, it could be your best friend that lives with you. You know, it depends on your actual personal life and whatever's going on. But obviously, whoever you're really in communication with this month, most of the time, let's not beat around the bush. Take your time to process the information, not to intellectualize your feelings, but to just process the facts. Acknowledge the facts. Let that be a sentence with a period at the end of it, even if the next sentence is, the way I feel is begging me to disrespect all of the facts. A secure ego will say that and not attach themselves to any outcome. They will simply just express the facts and how they feel about those facts. We all know that the truth doesn't really care about feelings, but you should care about your experience of the motion of your current. A lot of private conclusions about abstract data from the near past. And at the same time, Pluto retrograde opposing Jupiter all season long. And eventually with the addition of the Sun, really makes it hard to move forward when your blind spots are being feigned. You're not as blind as you think, or another way to read this is people, or maybe a specific person, someone. This is just the mood all around. It could be you or other people, but you'll know. Just take this with a grain of salt and apply it to your own life. Feigning ignorance is an extremely ugly trait for people who intentionally look to acknowledge another person's perspective another person's experience. And even if they don't agree, their mind is capable of emotionally grasping that their reality is not like yours, or yours is not like theirs. And still, without the anxiety, without illusions in the way, it's pretty easy to create a symbiosis between you and others, something that is healthy, that works in everyone's favor. The thing about those swords reversed, you see that bandage. The waters are not shallow. Her feet are barely in. I mean, one's on the land, the other's in the water. The thing about the bandage, though, is it's loose. It's not that tight. But her nervous system, the subconscious mind, everything is stiff. The body's quite stiff in that card, in that image. Pent up, kind of like the weather being so hot, so heated up, considering that Jupiter is about to move into Leo in, what day is it? I don't know, like 4 or 5 days from now. You know, it's, there are a lot of thoughts that are inappropriate for your health and therefore your wealth, which reinforce, whether you want to be aware of it or not, it reinforces your current, mental, emotional current, your path, what you're doing here, why you're doing it. You know, there's no other way to say it but to say releasing a secret in a private conversation between you and a trusted individual, someone who deserves that trust, not just someone that you gave it to, that is definitely worth your time. Another thing that's worth your time is to release the tension that is trapped up in the muscles, in the body, in the mood. Loosen it up. There are very, very little things that create a massive impact for the body, the mind, the heart, the skin, the hair, the feet, the bones, the muscles, on and on and on. Chiron having just moved into Taurus, June 20th, so basically right before summer solstice, right before Cancer season starts. It's really emphasizing all of that. So what would someone who loves themselves do to make them feel better? Like, what are you going to do about it is the vibe. Saturn and Neptune in Aries, until they're out of Aries, that is the most obvious message about Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Like, what are you actually going to do about anything, ever? Because if it's shitty outside, but on the inside, you keep it bright, you keep your spirit light, and you move through the currents, steep or not, large or not, crashing or not, it's easier than devoting yourself to the crashing, devoting yourself to the drowning part, devoting yourself to when you had less and less and less, and continuously relating to that part of the past instead of those nuggets, the sweet spot in a lesson. Extract it like you're making a cocktail to drink before Venus retrograde shows up and reminds you of why you should have been doing that in Cancer season. Just do it now. Just do it now. It's way more fun to do it now, I promise. Because then you'll have that to reflect upon, to be proud of, to feel grounded by. There are limiting beliefs that are stored in those swords that the full moon definitely is going to expose. And I say that because the full moon in Capricorn squares Neptune and Aries. And eventually the moon will square Saturn shortly after that, but it's going to make a trine to Chiron and Taurus and everything I was just saying. It's also going to sextile the North Node that is still in Pisces. I believe it is at 2 degrees. A Taurus number. So, if it's not obvious, you've got Pisces moods in the moon card, Cancer moods in the moon card, and the release of worry, concern, but the types of worries that are not real. You are imagining them to be real because of the past. Mercury in Cancer is going to make that super easy to access. The thing about Mercury in Cancer, for those of you who have it in your natal chart, it's the quintessential intuitive that has the past stored in a lot of different cabinets, and you can pick and choose which lesson you learned from whatever's in those cabinets, and you can extract it into the current that you're walking in real time. Because not everything about tradition, not everything about the past was morally sound or emotionally mature or, whatever. And there's still information inside of those lessons learned from all of that that is valuable to blend into whatever new version or whatever you're working on now, or the habit you're reversing and picking something else to replace it with that will heal you or just make what's good even better, or place it wherever you want to place it. But this is such a fluid season where if the ego is secure, the growth is massive, and the acknowledgement of where you're at, your standard, your mode of being, your character, your heart, your community, it's easy to uplift. It's easy to get into it. It's easy to support that, to finance this, to invest in this or that, or someone does it for you. It's just a healthy symbiosis of love and care. It's very, very basic, the Cancer necessities. It's like roof over my head, enough food in the fridge to feed the core of my life, to nourish the ones I love. Never at the detriment to yourself. That's another Mercury in Cancer pinpoint there, because when Mercury goes retrograde, it's still quite moody about any time you did any of that, did any love and care to the detriment of yourself, because it is the instincts of Mercury in Cancer to go, oh, hold on, even though I have this opportunity, let me see how it's going to negatively affect anyone who's insecure that I love. Like that kind of stuff, I don't recommend it, but most people who are in that position are not doing it because they want to suffer from helping other people. It is your heart that gets you into that in the first place. However, the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind. The moon. The sway of your emotion. How do you emote your sentences? When you talk to yourself, when you talk with other people, how do you feel when they're speaking to you? Are they talking to you like they care? Or are they just overly sensitive and aggressively reactive? Because the impulse motivated by an emotional intent that comes from an insincere conclusion really drives all of us mad. And it's not advantageous for anyone. It's not effective for anyone, whether that kind of mess is projected at you, or if it's just a lesson you learned and you're trying to help someone else get there without being a detriment to yourself, without doing it for them, without robbing them of the lesson that was so juicy when you got it because you learned it how you needed to learn it. There's a lot of that's going on too. Like, you can peep people's insecurities. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard. You can tell by how they treat people, and you can make an accurate conclusion. Mercury in Cancer says, just be really picky about who you're talking to about any of that, because the truth bothers anyone who's not secure in their essence, in the way they present themselves and how they offer themselves to the world around them and how they respond to the world around them, aka themselves as well. Because internally, if nobody's home, if there isn't even a door, it's more than being closed off. It's just being resistant to life in general. So why would someone like that, a group of people, an institution, a power structure, a societal, cultural norm, whatever you want to put this into to make it make sense for you, but like, it's Pluto opposing Jupiter. So the opportunities are there for whatever's going well to increase. And it will. It's not safe around people who aren't doing this type of correction within themselves. If it's available, correct it. If it's not there, great. Don't have to correct something. That's lovely. But the correction isn't to say you are bad or like inherently you're a bad person. The corrections are made because life can be beautifully fluid, and a lot of times the tension that happens when you don't let this loosen up and drop off, basically let the cookie crumble. The more secure you become, the easier everything is in life. Even when the world is on fire, I'd rather be equipped, prepared, secure in who it is that I am as a human being who loves and cares for certain people who love and care for me back. I'd rather be in that level of human to human experience than something that is way worse than that, especially if it's not even necessary. It's not necessary, but understandable because, we're all a human, so wink, wink. Are we not? Okay. But, I'm just saying, evil exists. So I'm just trying to say it would only be natural to get a little caught up sometimes and gaslight yourself. That's all I'm saying. But, just really care about how you feel. It's not going to be hard to notice how you feel because it'll be overly pronounced all season long. We're very sensitive this season about what we care about. We're very, very, it's enhanced. It's over the top, to be frank. We're very sensitive about what we like, what helps us, what secures us, what makes us feel alive on the inside. That is true vitality. So when Jupiter does conjunct the sun, when does that happen? I want to say like around the new moon in Cancer, which by the way is conjunct Mercury retrograde and will square the fuck out of Saturn and Chiron. So let's not act like this is super easy, but it's totally possible, and it's been done before, and your subconscious is doing everything without you having to direct its course. That's why it loves a pattern. Give it a new pattern, enhance the patterns you've already fixed, or paid attention to, or let's say you did a lot of work, Taurus season, Aries season, to rectify where you are the most ineffective, no judgment, and just build on that effort, build on those patterns. They may still be in the near past and therefore new, but they're not fresh anymore. They're rooted enough that you can continue to water that plant and you can continue to see the flower bloom. And this is all just a symbol of the effort and the consistency of a new pattern being ingrained into your daily life, and therefore this is now your life now. This is where you operate from. But so that said, what's also important when Jupiter does enter Leo at the end of June, what's also important is to make creativity your baseline. Creativity is your baseline for everything, for a problem, for a party, for a friendship, for business. Add that vibe into whatever you're already doing that works. Creativity is my baseline. This is where children operate from. It's not even a decision. It's not really a choice. They're just there. They're already working from that frequency. It's already creative. It's all they've got. You know, when you're an infant, all you see is a bunch of blobs. I'm not up on all the facts about, you know, eyesight and how long it takes for us to see color, etc., etc. But the internal world is what you're relying upon for a long time before you even come out of the womb. And the reason I mention that is this is mothering, fathering, parenthood, Cancer, family energy. So considering it also the moon and the womb and Cancer are all linked together in meaning, there's a lot to say about being overly protective this season results in these all or nothing behaviors and reactions. Because Jupiter moves into a fiery Leo sign, it's a fixed sign, so even if you're wrong, you might feel really, really prideful and really right about it. The fact is, your feelings can be valid, but when misdirected, they are inappropriate, to say the least. They're unwarranted, to say the least. And they're immature, to say the least. I'm really trying my best, to say the least, because most of this month is uplifting, but it comes with lessons for people who are prone to an ego clash, who are very stubborn when they feel they've been wronged and they refuse to get creative about the resistance they're encountering, even if unwarranted, inappropriate. You know, we're all a different shade of human, so there are always layers of isms, you know, to the fabric of society. But what would be great is if all of that could just, you know, stop. But it's only natural, again, to, you know, yeah, I know I'm valuable and I care about how I feel, but sometimes I get wrapped up in the fact that my environment is racist. It's like, that's real life. That's real life. It just, like, you can do your best to acknowledge that, oh, right, I'm internalizing racism. I need to take a beat, or sexism, or ableism, whatever ism you want to focus on, whatever one is in your life, or not in your life, but maybe in the lives of someone you care about. And sometimes the best way to love and care for people who are secure in their ego, but the human condition is what it is, you know? So when you're encountering it with empathy, those swords come out a lot smoother, with less scarring, with less cleanup, with less healing to do. With apathy, which would be, understandable, considering what all types of experiences you can encounter as a human being on Earth. Like, just give yourself the time to process the information and not be too quick to judge your reaction to it. That is the best way to be there for yourself, or if you have someone you really love, or if you're in a community of people that a few of them might be dealing with this, that's a good way to support folks. Is to remind them of what they already know to be true, but due to the overwhelming environment they're in daily, once in a while they just need somebody to say, hey, I think you're actually doing quite well, so cut yourself a break, at least internally. That will become even more sensitive, scenarios like that, lessons like that, memories like that, during the full moon in Capricorn. Especially during that, that component of the Chiron trine, June 29th. Yeah. Creating a pattern that kind of blends your anxious moments and memories of when something was bad enough to cause you to react with anxiety. The moon and the Empress, the Venusian mood, the moon mood. This is indicative of a loving environment for someone to heal little remnants about themselves. So it might not even be a really bold thing you're dealing with. It could just be fragments of a bold, hard lesson you learned a while ago. And just remnants are popping up. The full moon makes it real obvious, but also makes it possible for you to love even that part of being a human being. That doesn't mean that you enjoyed it. It means you yourself have an overall awareness beyond just your personal self-awareness that says, it doesn't have to be a part of human life, but I encountered it. And it sucks that it happened, but this is what I'm doing for myself regarding said experience. So there's just a lot of encouraged maturity curves that are going on, especially emotionally. That each have their hand in your future. And the current is saying to continue down the road of allowing whatever is in the tide to break when it breaks. Let that cookie crumble. Let the chips fall where they may. You're not even playing these games. Anyone who found this video, you're not even on this planet to be playing games and pretending like you're not going to be, front and center with a bunch of consequences. If you found this video and you're new to the lounge, welcome to the Seer's Lounge. This is what we do here. We just chill the fuck out and we invest in what creates the perfect creative baseline for you. Because no, it's not all on you to create your own life, but you are, of all people, the main person responsible for being fluid with your options, being sensitive enough to your subconscious mind that you make more of that conscious, workable. It's a weird, I welcome it, but it's like a weird dance between truth seeking and also being really comfortable with not knowing what you seek to know. The moon represents secrets and also hidden enemies in some ways, but even those things get exposed this season. So when I say let the swords fall, don't be the one to fall on the sword. That's another way to read this entire mood, is like, let those sharp swords fall out of your way. They're not even related to you. Each sword is manufactured drama of some kind, not the kind that you're actually going to theater practice for because there's a play later this month that you have to act in because that's what you do. That's your art form, or that's, I don't know, some class you have to take to graduate, whatever. You get my point. Like, those swords have no purpose for your life. They literally are just fragments from the past that are triggered. They're you don't have to answer to the trigger, but it's out there, It's out there. You can press that button, you can bruise yourself, you can poke that part of the muscle that hurts the most, or you could just leave it alone. Because it's not actually about you personally at a certain point. Those kinds of swords are about a bigger thing, and your response is just to let it take its course. Like, let things just teach you how they're going to teach you. Don't fight too hard to learn something a certain way. That's kind of why I'm talking about it. Jupiter opposed Pluto the whole season is basically that saying it indicates that there's a tension between those things. Those two points of human experience. Like, I care about the truth. I want to be interested in what's clearly definable, and yet the structures that be, the power systems in place, who holds the position. That doesn't mean they're qualified, but who's in the position to make decisions that affect a lot of people, whether that's you or other people in your life, or both. The mood is saying, no matter what you find out during this season about anything I've mentioned so far, the fog is lifted. And when the clouds are out, they're more transparent than ever. And the illusion that you cannot see clearly is the Eight of Swords reversed. Because really your value is quite intact. You've been appreciating anything that you do or that other people do that works well, that is effective and morally sound. If you've been watching my Seer Moods videos since Aries season, that's been a repeating recommendation. Remember, the subconscious mind loves to have it. This is why having a foundation that is about being creative matters. It matters. Of course it matters. Pluto, of course it matters. Did I not say not too long ago that the insecure are exposed this season? There's really no way out of it. Mercury retrograde for about 22 days. That starts June 29th, right before the full moon. Neptune retrograde begins shortly after July 7th. There's a lot of corrected courses that are being given a boost, a momentum boost, a speed boost, kind of making things flow along a little bit better, a little smoother, because you're answering and acknowledging the call that you've been in tune with probably for years, probably. I don't know how young my crowd is or old my crowd is, so you pick how many years you've been very clear about what you're even doing on this planet and why you're here. You know better than I do. The point is, though, it is the driving force behind your emotional experience of your personal life, of what you personally experience. That's what matters. That's what keeps you grounded in the middle of the ocean. Sometimes the truth is advantageous to those who have hurt you as much as it is advantageous to you. If it's in the highest good of both sides, Pluto and Jupiter, you and someone who may be just a monster lately, it is because some people tense up when they're caught up between them and themselves. The only way out for that level of hell on the inside is to be very knee-jerk response about anything and everything, making things up in your mind, driving yourself nuts. But this season is about being grateful for the fact that that's not what you're doing, especially if you've got people who are being like that are around. Another thing is, it's kind of obvious, but when you follow not just what you're good at, but what you're meant to be doing, when you can sense that you're doing that, no matter what is going on, there's an unmistakable spiritual assurance that does not require facts to be consistently confirmed, questioned, doubted, confirmed, and repeat and repeat and repeat. It doesn't require the facts. This is a spiritual, it's like dharma. It's like this, sorry, but this is what you're doing here. So as long as you're aware and awakening to more and more of what it is you're so aware of now about the truth and your human component to it, why you care about it, who needs to be forgiven so that you can properly care for yourself. Pluto retrograde, it's a long form retrograde. It's months and months and months. So it's the self-reflection and the healing from false accusations and judgments and assumptions and conclusions. That's why I keep repeating this Mercury in Cancer intuitive current going on that refers to the past only because there are gems there. It's a Plutonian approach to what is unknown. You dig for the gem, you take the gem, and you get into a transformation mood about it. You don't just look at it so that you can say you have something. That's the most immature way to appreciate anything in life. Is to say, oh, I have it. Oh, well, I bought it, I have it. Okay, and? Did you need a medal? Do you want us to clap for you? Did you need an audience or something? Get on Instagram and brag about it. Like, girl, who cares? What are you doing with it? What about it? And what? Saturn and Neptune and Aries is that type of energy. The very, I know it sounds bratty, but it's like, okay, so you have an emerald on your finger, and what about it, though? Do you know what it symbolizes? Do you know who made it? Where was the emerald sourced? Can you teach us about it? Or was it just to let anyone know that you possess an emerald on your finger? Don't get me wrong. It is June. It's a very emerald and pearl mood. But pearls, you know what they gotta do just to find a pearl? Okay? Pearls aren't just laying around for people to pick up. And like all things Plutonian, true wealth is rooted, usually quite deep. When Mercury conjuncts Jupiter, June 18th to July 5th, which means it's still there and it has been there for some time, let's keep in mind that the instinct to get a move on it and hurry up is coming from excitement, a readiness, and you need to trust that readiness. Trust that readiness, because that is the end of something that used to be clouded, ending, and its replacement attracting a new world to it that matches how you've been feeling for a long time on the inside. Because for a long time on the inside, the truth has always been clear. Your role in the mix has never been confusing to you. All you're doing is staying in your purpose, stay in your lane, the one you created for you. And take your time. Take your time to prioritize sincere conclusions. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. People are in deep, and usually the light is not on in there. But if you see where the incense is for the full moons, yeah, I'm not even surprised this card came out. Obviously, the light is on. Doesn't matter what's going on outside of the internal world of your experiences. So you hold the light, turn it on.